we're here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generations.
Making news just for you. It's March 26 here in Seoul. I'm Shin Yoon, and you're watching News Generation. Joining me in the studio is Im Sang-hyuk.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday, and Uijun.
Happy to be here.
Now, both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s, and today is actually the
Right.
300th episode of News Generation.
Congratulations, Yeun.
Thank you so much. Kudos to everyone on News Gen team and all of our viewers who've been looking at us for 300 whole episodes and forever for more. Now we're going to move on and let's start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. We're going to be starting with our first story. With the weather getting warmer, South Korea is bracing itself for spring. It's also looking out for Japanese mosquitoes, also known as brain mosquitoes, for causing encephalitis, an inflammation of the brain. The Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Sunday said it would be monitoring four southern cities, including Jeju, Busan, Gyeongnam, and Cheonnam, for these small red house mosquitoes that can cause this brain disease. These bugs are found usually in late March and peak in number by August to September. If you're not vaccinated, you may feel symptoms such as fever or headache. Once bitten, 1 out of 250 people face serious symptoms such as convulsions or paralysis, and 20 to 30% of them can even die. Moving on. Plastic surgery remained the top reason why many foreigners decided to take a medical trip to South Korea. That's according to KoreaTrip, a Korean tourism platform that analyzed its users' data from January and February this year. The survey released on Monday found that plastic surgery was the main reason why medical tourists visited Korea. Reservation rates for cosmetic surgeries surged by 220% from the previous year. Revenue grew by 270%. More than 7 out of 10 of these medical tourists came from Taiwan, and dermatology and dentistry also attracted more tourists, with reservation rates jumping by a whopping 830 and 450% respectively. Ending off with yet another dating story from the K-entertainment and culture scene. Singer Jihyo, the leader of K-pop girl group Twice, is reportedly dating Olympic skeleton champion Yoon Sung-bin. Yoon is also known as the breakout star of the hit Netflix reality show Physical 100. Media outlets report that Jihyo, 27, and Yoon, 29 years old, have been dating for about a year in secret. Now, both of the celebrities' agencies neither confirmed nor denied initial dating rumors. Jihyo's agency, JYP, said it's difficult to comment on the artist's dating life because it's her private life. Yoon's agency also mirrored JYP's stance. Now, what's worth noting is that Jihyo and Yoon Sung-bin's dating rumor didn't stir as much controversy or drama as it aespa's Karina or actress Han So-hee did. We mentioned last week how their romance scandal raised the question as to whether Korean celebrities are allowed to love. Now, here in the studio, I'd like to ask, why do you guys think that Jihyo and Yoon Sung-bin's dating scandal received much of a more positive light from the public, and some are even calling them a power couple, right?
Right. The reaction to the relationship seems to be depending on which celebrities, like, of course, including singer and sports stars here, and also different characteristics on the company and the fans. And I think it may be the reactions from with the new aspect they consider the various social reactions on the previous scandal, the aespa's, the Karina. And from my perspective, in any case, like, we cannot involve and suggest any opinions, and also between this young man and woman. So why not we just support their relationship and the privacy and just keep it silence without just posting bad comments or posting anyway.
I know, as you mentioned throughout our last episode when we talked about whether Korean celebrities are allowed to love, you maintained the stance that we should respect their privacy,
right,
as it's just a story between a man and a girl. Now, what about you, Sang-hyuk? What do you think? Why do you think they're being lauded as a power couple, which is quite the contrary to what aespa's Karina or Han So-hee went through recently?
So I don't know what the Twice fans think, but personally, I think the Jihyo and Sung-bin couple is currently receiving the least discomfort or dislike from the general public, and I think this has to do with the timing. So like Hee-jun mentioned, when you think about the several dating scandals that have been going on for the past days in the Korean entertainment industry, the issues with Karina received a lot of backlash from the fandom. And when you think about the issue with the actress Han and all the quarrels with Hye and actor Liu, it really caused a great discomfort and dislike to the public. But the reason why the Jihyo and Sung-bin couple is receiving the least dislike has to do with because of this timing, because the past two couples kind of stirred a great fuss all over this dating scandal. But compared to them, the Gio and Songbin are actually really look good with each other. So I think that's one of the reasons why the public is showing a positive light to this couple.
And I think we mentioned it in our previous episode too. I think some fans are saying if it's twice as Chihyo, they would accept because she's gone already quite far in her career, already sweeping Billboard charts and making global accolades. So we are seeing a difference there, but hopefully from this dating rumor onwards, we see more of fans being supportive towards their celebrity crush and not bashing them for their personal life. Now, we're going to switch gears to our main discussion topic of the day now. Because we're heading towards the end of March, the month where we see companies recruit fresh new workers, it's in light of being a recruitment season. That's why an interesting survey actually popped up in light of this. And I think many can relate to it because it had to do with whether our generation is comfortable disclosing their salary or not. So, Sang-yeon, why don't you walk us through the latest findings?
Sure. So if you look at this survey, I think we can figure out how our generation thinks about the disclosing their salaries to others. So let's take a look at the screen. So a total of 2,437 Gen Z job seekers participated in the survey. And among them, 74% replied that they are against disclosing their salaries to other people, whereas only 26% responded they are willing to disclose their salaries. So you can see here that majority of our generation is actually against sharing their salary to others. Now, if we look at the next survey, it portrays to whom the MZers can open their salaries. Now, the biggest portion of answers went to family with 75%, followed by partner with less than half, and then friends and colleagues. So here you can see that many MZers are reluctant to disclose their salaries, especially to their colleagues.
And we're going to be talking about that a bit more, but Heejun, would you like to add on to why you think more than 7 out of 10 millennials and Gen Z, especially Gen Z, are geared towards not disclosing their salary?
Throughout the survey, as he mentions, the reason why they do not want to open it up and disclose their salary is the burdensome issues and is quite personal information as well. So there could be the discord, and it would be more not uncomfortable for others. And also there is also the opinion that such as from the time of disclosure, they start to get so much stress by invisible competition for each other. And because it's recognized that disclosure of the salary, it represents the figure of the one's abilities. And it also can lead to the certainty about the one's self-esteem and abilities too. So many people think that it's better to not to disclose it and not to wonder either.
Right. Now, I want to do a quick OX game to find out where you guys personally stand on this issue. So my first question, as you mentioned, Sang-yeon, a lot of millennials and Gen Z don't seem to be wanting to open their salary to their colleagues, right? But what about you guys? Are you guys okay disclosing your salary to your work colleagues? 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
X and X. Okay, let's hear you out first.
Okay, so I wouldn't necessarily share my salary with colleagues, and it's a matter of consideration rather than sharing some useful job information to my colleagues. So if my salary is higher than my peers, then obviously he would think what's wrong with this wage gap, and this could make our relationship kind of awkward.
Right.
And on the other side, if my salary is lower than my counterpart, in this case, then I would feel this kind of concerns and anxiety. Did I do something wrong in the office? And this would obviously make me feel kind of jealous and feel inferior to my counterpart, although I didn't intend to feel that way. So actually, I think disclosing your salary to your colleague has more loss than gains.
So you're like a peacemaker.
Right.
You'd like to keep peace in the office.
Cause fuss in
You
the
don't want to
office.
cause a fuss. You'd rather just not know. What about you?
Well, I go for X. In case I usually do not disclose it, but if my closest friend asks me, or if I'm in some kind of like atmosphere that I have to disclose it, then I just give them approximate range of my annual salary. So for example, I said I earn enough to cover up my 3 meals for every day, or otherwise I'm kind of a little difficult because my salary has not increased when compared to last year, etc. And not everyone will, but I also have no choice not to be like sensitive when it comes with the financial problem. And also it's same as like how much you get for your effort. So I'm kind of like sensitive for this. And being evaluated for my ability by my amount, my salary. So I think that's why the other millennials are quite sensitive about this issue. So
Right.
I don't really ask or wonders about it.
Whether it be because it might spark competition or you think that it's personal information, and because it is a barometer of your
Right.
professional skill set and that is a subjective matter, it could be sensitive. Then my next OX question is, what about to your family and friends? Would you be able to show all of your salary
Okay.
to the closest people in your lives? Ready? O or X? Go.
Kind
Okay, you're in the
kinda
middle.
Okay.
And what about your X? Okay, why?
Okay, so for my family, first of all, my parents are obviously curious about my salary, but it's not because they're worried, but they just wonder whether their son is doing his job in society, and they're also wondering whether he can actually bring home the bacon.
Right.
And as for my friends, there was this one incident when my university peer asked me about the translation industry, and he was also obviously interested about the pay, the incentives, and all that. So
Right.
I didn't tell him the exact amount of the payment that you can get for doing translation, but I told him about the approximate range of salary, so just to give him the useful information about this industry and the job.
So you were being a good friend, though you knew it could sometimes cause
Right.
competition because you are a peace
And I didn't want to boast about my
Yeah,
salary.
you didn't want to
Yeah.
flaunt it out, but at the same time, you wanted to give him like information as to what the base minimum is for him to be negotiating for his better salary. What about you, Heejun?
Well, another X for me. I don't personally disclose it to my parents either. And if I reveal it, it won't be such a big problem, but I'm also quite cautious about the disclosing because my salary might not meet my parents' expectations or might be overestimated somehow. So I'm choosing to show it physically, like we're just going shopping together with just buy what they want in my possible boundary. So just so that they keep it, do not worry about my like salary and financial credits anymore. So since it is my annual salary, so I prefer to keep it to myself and taking a self-measure for this.
Right.
And I think I will naturally disclose it and open it up when the time comes, right?
When the time comes, and I think it's a great idea for you to just show to your parents that you're doing well.
Yeah.
You're eating 3 meals a day by your own, and you're able to buy them good food.
Yeah, do not worry.
Do not worry.
Yeah, it's a typical Korean parent.
Typical Korean parents. Now, we asked the same question to our viewers as to who they could share their salary to. If you take a look at the screen, you can find out what 3 of them had to share with us. Let's start with Native. Native Wanderer said, of course, people need to know and everyone has the right to know, so I'm open to sharing my salary. Leon said, knowing what others in similar roles or industries can earn can help you gauge your own pay's fairness. However, salary differences can lead to resentment or jealousy among friends or colleagues, especially if the gap is significant. Nureddin says, no, I'd only tell my fiance I work for a Wall Street firm and my income is no one's business. So as you can see from our viewers, I think we see split opinions as to whether we should be disclosing our salary or not, whether it be because of personal reasons, privacy concerns, or thinking that it's your personal information that could be sensitive. I think there's so many different reasons, but why do you think our generation in particular, as we saw from the initial survey, Gen Z, more than 7 out of 10 of them don't want to disclose their salary? Has this always been the case from our parents' generation, or is this something new that we're seeing?
When the annual salary is disclosed, there may be room for the relative deprivations or discord. And also it could lead to excessive competitions because it's a quite sensitive issue, as you mentioned. And in fact, these days, I think the most of sensitive issues are hidden. And without disclosing them. Because I think it's more easily evaluated and socially prejudiced by my salary, not only salary, including all my age and school and place of hometown, etc. That's why they're doing this.
Right, so we have been seeing this from our parents' generation and grandparents' generation. Always revealing someone's salary has been a sensitive issue, but I do think our generation is leading a new trend in thinking that it's not respectful or courteous to be even asking about it. But there are parts of the world that's actually mandating disclosing salaries, right?
Right. So in 2022, New York City enforced the pay transparency law, which requires the employers to disclose the minimum and maximum range of the hourly wage and annual salary when they post job advertisements. So the purpose of this enactment was to lay the ground for workers to request the appropriate amount of salary with justice. So whether it's performance-based or seniority-based, all wage systems have to be disclosed. And companies have been able to manage the salary for the workers in a transparent manner. Now, for the workers, they were able to request for the appropriate amount of salary as well as to receive a decent amount of salary within a reasonable scope.
I see. So they did it for practical purposes.
Right.
Now, we're going to better compare what it's like abroad to here in Korea and the perception that there is by including another millennial who's lived both in Korea and the States. Stay tuned for our live interview. We're now going to turn to a fellow Gen Z who's currently working as a job recruiter in California and the States. It's Hannah Kim. Welcome, Hannah.
Hi, thanks for having me.
All right, Hannah, we've been telling you how it's like here in Korea, but could you give us a better comparison to the States? How common is it for people to disclose their salary in the States? Is it a sensitive issue like it is here in Korea?
I would say in the US, it is still a sensitive subject. I wouldn't say it's held to the same standard of sensitivity as it seems to be in Korea. For example, we definitely are a little bit more inclined to tell our friends and family and partners as well what the salary is, even colleagues, but maybe not in the adjacent, as long as they're not in the same department or team. So it is still something that is sensitive, though there is a little bit more openness regarding that conversation overall.
I see.
Okay, I see, Hannah. I can relate to your idea since I also lived in the States. Now, then, usually, how far do people go when it comes to telling their people about how much they gain? Who can they actually tell about the salary? Friends, families, members? What do you think?
Yeah, depending on how far, I would relate it to how close you are to everyone involved. So family, you might give a more exact number. Friends, you might give more of a range. Colleagues, if you do share, for example, me and my colleagues have shared, it is more given as a percentage. So that way you aren't directly saying the numbers, but they can kind of work out the math if they need to. Ultimately, because of similar reasons that you mentioned, we definitely don't want to be competing or comparing against each other. But since we aren't working with our friends or our family for the most part, there's no need to compare in that sense when it comes to our performance. But it's definitely still something that we are mindful of. It's not something that you just ask point blank.
Right.
Thank you for your opinions. And what about like how do you think are the pros and cons behind the disclosing your salaries?
Pros, I would definitely say you want to make sure that you are being paid fairly and that you aren't being taken advantage of for doing the same tasks as your colleagues. And just in general, having that transparency with your company, I think helps build that trust to a certain extent. But cons could definitely be, as some of the reasons you mentioned earlier, involves introducing jealousy into any coworker relationships. Sometimes people may take, most times I should say, people may take the salary that they're making as an indication of their performance. So if everyone is doing the same job, they should be being paid the same. And if someone finds out that's not the case, that could definitely lead to more job dissatisfaction, jealousy. And those are things that generally, obviously the company would like to avoid, but ultimately isn't very productive in the long run for yourself and
Hannah,
other coworkers.
I think you mentioned a really good point there. I think our generation really prioritizes transparency because though we're used to living in a very hyper-competitive environment where you can compare yourself with so many different people, whether it be online, offline, with social media's advent, you can see so many outstanding people out there. I do think that our generation, having been growing up in a generation where we can have so much access to information, we need to know what the bare minimum is for the amount of work and time we're pulling in. So I think transparency really encapsulates the biggest trait of our generation. And thank you so much, Hannah. It was a pleasure hearing your insight today.
Thank you so much.
All right. Now, based on today's discussion, I would like to ask our panelists in the studio whether you guys think it's wise to disclose your salary to your friends, colleagues, or family members. Have you guys withered in your opinion based on our discussion today?
So throughout today's episode, I emphasized that there is more loss than gain when you open up your salary to others. And like Hannah mentioned, it could provoke jealousy among the colleagues, and it wouldn't really have a positive impact to the office culture. But I do agree that exposing the approximate range of the salary could help the job seekers when they look for jobs, as we have seen in the New York City's case. And for me, when I skimmed through the job posts online, I was even able to witness that many companies are not really unclear about the exact amount of salary. And to be honest here, and we also talked about this in yesterday's episode, money is not everything.
It isn't.
Actually, we work to make our ends meet. So it is really important part of our daily lives, and we have the right as a worker to know about the approximate amount of the salary the company gets.
And expounding on your point just now, I think the reason why some people from our generation are curious or ask their friends or family members or even their partner how much they earn, it isn't really a jealousy-evoking question. It's really just to know the bare minimum or what the average is for that industry for them to hop on jobs. And we're seeing more of that as we constantly mention on NewsGen. Our generation has the tendency to constantly want development and self-fulfillment through our careers. And I think money, though it's not the most important or pivotal thing that we seek for, it is the minimum that we do look out for when seeking out jobs. Now, Heejun, what's your ending note today?
Well, these trends seem to be quite sensitive due to the social phenomena here. And the people try to evaluate and quantify that throughout all the information the individual has. And personally, as I said from the last topic and how to invest the funds, I think I can be a little sensitive and introverted when it comes with the financials. But I'm sure that there are people who don't. But I think that basically it's good for both of them not to ask or wonder. If they disclose at first, I'm able to listen, but it's quite personal freedom to speak or not on this kind of issues. So I think it is necessary to understand other people's points of view.
And I think for those of people who really didn't understand before why some could take it sensitively, hopefully today's episode shed light as to why some people think that salaries are a very important personal information that they may not want to disclose. And I think at the end of the day, it's about respecting boundaries and communicating it well with your friends, family, or even colleagues. Now, in the meantime, we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Im Sang-hyuk.
Thank you, and happy 300th anniversary.
Happy 300th anniversary. And Uijun. Congratulations. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for watching us for 300 episodes and for forevermore. Now, we'll see you tomorrow, and we are
News Generation.
You